Hey, everybody! Welcome and thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe, share my videos around, and like them so I know that you are enjoying them. We're still doing test days with the new, or not new, but with the X30 and the OTK Tony Kart chassis. We have had some improvements, which is always a good thing to say. Chassis is still completely useless. It's still bent, even though we have straightened it, because it is old and has been used a lot more than what I believe I've been told. Even straightening it, it's going to go back to its original bent form, because that's where it's been for so long. Like, that's where it's been driven and been fixated for so long. It's hard to explain, but brand new chassis are straight. Eventually they get bent, eventually they get used to that bent position, and it's just hard to keep them 100% straight. So I've done the best I can with the chassis, and I am getting improvements. I have knocked 1 second off my PB. Still very slow, still very off pace, but I am getting closer to the front markers. We'll see the times that I have done in this practice session, but yeah, still a long way to go. I have done a lot of setup changes. I got some suggestions from Nathan from KartWorks, very knowledgeable, and he definitely knows what he's talking about. Being that I've never raced or used these LeConte tyres, and they are a lot softer than the Maxis that I have been using for 3 years, and they're hard, or harder tyres. And the previous tyres that I did use for the Karting Australia period that I raced with was Dunlop DFMs, which I don't believe were as soft as the LeContes. A lot different than what I have been using. So getting suggestions off Nathan, he told me not a basic setup, but he told me what the setup should be for Newcastle for these tyres, and I did that setup, and that's what the issue I was having with the right hand turn was. Just you almost had to turn at 180 degrees for it to turn right, and it would still feel like it's going straight, and just, yeah. So with my knowledge, I changed some of the karting setup. It worked a lot better, but now I've overgripped the front. Essentially that's what I thought would be best, trying to make the front more heavy, more grippy, more responsive, and I did that, and it worked. I wouldn't say 100 times better, but it worked a lot better. Like, I had a lot more I wouldn't say control, but I had a lot more steer in the car. The issue with having too much steer is the rear was struggling to maintain its grip. So that's where I'm at now. The front's fine, could be a little bit better, but the front is fine for the time being. I have to now figure out how to adjust the rear for my overcompensation for the front, if that all makes sense. I have got an idea on what I can do. I'm not going to say it's going to work, because it's what's the word? It's unique isn't the word. I can't think of the word. This is going to bug me now. Innovative? I think it's innovative. I'm a very innovative person, so someone tells me, oh yeah, OTKs, they need this specific rim, they need this specific axle, they need this specific seat. That's how karting is nowadays. Everyone goes, or this guy's running this axle, that's going to be the fastest axle, let's get that axle, let's get that stiffness axle, or it's going to make us 5 times faster. No, it's in a way that kind of makes sense, but in a way you got to try new things. Like, that's what these front drivers have done. They've tried new things to get them that 10th faster than others, because everyone else is going off what everyone else is saying. These OTKs, they run best with this axle, this seat, these rims. And essentially, you've got to think outside the box, and this is what I'm kind of doing with my rear setup. I do research non-stop, and this is new to me. The front not responding to me with the arrow. The front was just as perfect as I wanted it. Right now, having an older chassis, I have to work a little bit more with my driving and with a different setup than what people with brand new chassis have. Like, people with brand new chassis, they can do a standard to the point setup, and it's perfect. With me, I've got to go completely opposite, figure out how to find grip with setup and driving and everything else. So that's what I'm kind of doing with the rear. I'm thinking outside the box. I've never done what I'm going to do. I don't really want to say it, because if it does give me that extra, well, I need a second to be with the front runners, but if it gives me at least an extra 5/10, very unlikely, but even 2/10 or something, even if it makes it better, let's just go with that, then I don't really want to be spreading the word and have others follow suit, because that's just what they're going to do, and then they might find a 10th or 2, or they might even lose a 10th or 2. I guarantee if I even say what I'm going to do, people are going to be like, oh, no, that's not what you do, that's not what you do with OTKs, or that's not what you do, that's the complete opposite of what you're supposed to do. So, I'm pretty sure I could say what I'm going to do, and people won't even follow suit, but that's what I'm up to at the moment. Big issue with the X30. I absolutely regret buying the X30 again. When I first got back into karting as an adult, I had the X30, but the old version, the non-upgraded, and my dad and I spent like weekends trying to figure out how to start the damn thing. Like, it just wouldn't start, and you put starter motor after starter motor after starter motor into it, and it just wouldn't start. And eventually we got it started, and I just sold the kart and motor with it, because I didn't want the energy car, I wanted an OTK, and ended up buying a Rotax, and I had no issues with the Rotax whatsoever. It was a beautiful engine. It's just karting, everything changes with karting, rules, regulations, advantages, disadvantages, and right now what karting has done has that they've changed the rules for the weights for engines, and ideally has made the X30 a more advantage of an engine. So I have gone back to the X30, and also I figured out by the end of my Rotax career, I was actually running on 25 horsepower for that Rotax, and Rotaxes are supposed to be 32 horsepower. I went down to Troy Farley for, I think it's just Troy Farley race engines, Troy Farley engines or something, but he's supposed to be the best engine rebuilder for Rotaxes, and I sent my engine down to him, and he got it at 27 horsepower, but being at 25 horsepower, I've lost 7 horsepower for 3 years, and went to him once and got it at 27, and I'm still down 5 horsepower, so I was at a massive disadvantage that I didn't know for the whole time that I was running Rotax. But I've got X30 now, so this is going to be the start of an okay lap. I've got a time up there. I'm not really fussed about people knowing what laps what times I'm doing. I mean, I'm showing videos of my lines and everything, so I mean, I'm not at the front anymore. I don't have the money to be putting into chassis and engines, and like I've had to buy a 5-year-old chassis just to get me back on the track, and this was a dirt engine, so it's going to be useless as well. I'm just pushing everything I can out of the engine and chassis and hoping that I can at least be middle of the field. Middle of the field I'll be happy with. If I'm at the front, top 5, then I'm over the moon. But so you can see here, like the fastest lap, see it was a 48.9. Look, slow. I'm not going to say it's fast, it's slow. The front runners are doing 47s, 47. I should have rechecked. I think they're doing 40. I don't know if they're doing high 47s or mid 47s. They're definitely not. They might even be doing low 47s. I definitely don't think they're doing 46s, but they're in the 47s. So I'm a good second off, depending on where they are in the 47s. That wasn't my fastest. Don't worry, my fastest lap isn't much faster than that. But anyway, so I've bought back into the X30s, which is it is a mistake, and I'm going to explain a little bit about that now. One being this X30 still had starter issues. The starter motor in it was damaged, and then I bought a new starter motor, and the engine just fried the starter motor straight away. Like, it had 4 or 5 good starts, and after that, gone skis. Also turns out that the threads in the engine that hold the starter motor, the end of the threads have snapped, so I can't even tighten the bolts up anymore. I can rethread them, but I mean, I'm not kidding myself. I'm really not smart at any of this. I just do a lot of research, pray, and I get a fair amount of help from some friends, from KartWorks and some racing buddies. So I could possibly do it, but what I've done is I've bought an external starter motor. If I wanted to go through electric start again, I'd have to buy an IAME starter motor, and that was going to be double the price of what I paid for the external. So I bought an external starter motor, went down 2.5 hours down south, picked it up, got home, instantly went into the garage to see if it'll work, kicked over, it started straight away. I was like, oh, you beauty. Stopped the engine, kicked it over again, started straight away, oh, you beauty. Waited a bit, kept it revving, kept it idling, but turned it off again, 3rd time's a charm, turned it over, it started, oh, you beauty. So the external was perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with the engine, it was blatantly the starter motor. I think eventually down the track I might fix the engine up here and there when I can, but at the moment the external starter motor is working for me. So this practice session now that I'm showing you, this was all with the external starter motor. Issue with that is it's fine with practice and test days. I can just lodge I've got a plank of wood, I can just lodge in the middle of the chassis, just behind the seat. That lifts the chassis up just slightly enough for the rears to spin. So when I start up the external, obviously it's cranking over it's spinning the crank, so it's gonna rotate the rear bit before it starts, so that avoids the issue of the kart disappearing in the sunset without me in it. I can do that on test days because I'm a solo man. I've got my fiance, but she's a little bit of a queen. I don't think she'll really be able to handle a external starter motor and whatnot. So on race days, I'm going to ask if I can do that, if I can just lift it up with a log, start it, and they can just hopefully wait for me to jump into the kart and go. I'll ask them on race days if I can do that. I guarantee they won't, because it's a safety issue. So I'm going to have to. This is the PB lap, by the way. So we've got the timer up. This is going to be the PB lap. So I think this was my best lap for this practice session and in general. So yeah, I'll ask them if I can do that. I guarantee they'll say no. So I'll have to kind of pluck up the courage and push my anxiety, my social anxiety to the side, and I'll have to ask whoever's next to me on the grid if they can just help me externally start my car. I don't think they'll have any issues with it. It's literally going to be 5 seconds out of their time, and they're just going to be standing there anyway. So hopefully I can do it, but yeah, we'll see what happens in that. So yeah, you've got that there. I believe it was a 48.5. It should have been a 48.5. I can't quite see it. I'm trying to watch this all in person as well. But yeah, that was my PB lap so far. Hoping that I can get a little bit faster with the future new changes to my rear. But another issue I have is I'm actually 7 kilos overweight for light, so we've got to figure that out as well. But that's going to be somewhere down the track. But yeah, that's the end of the practice session. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking around. Please subscribe, share, like. Peace.